fine. Say, wouldn't you like to know what's going on in my mind? So let me get right to the point. I don't pop my cork for every guy I see. Hey, big spender, spend a little time with me. Say, wouldn't you like to know what's going on in my mind? So let me get right to the point. I don't pop my cork for every guy I see. Hey, big spender, spend a little time with me. Say, wouldn't you like to know what's going on in my mind? So let me get right to the point. I don't pop my cork for every guy I see. Hey, big spender,
I cannot honestly say that I have been discriminated against based on my gender at any time.
Personally, I don't remember any time that I felt like I was discriminated against because of my gender, although I do think in general, women in this country, that certainly does happen. I just can't speak of feeling that way myself. In my heart of hearts, I sometimes think that's why our profession is underpaid, education, because it is highly, employs a lot of women, and I think there still is a little bit of that sort of thinking that women don't need to make as much money as a man because the man is the main provider of the family, even though today most families are two-income type of families. I do think education, maybe that is why we've sort of fought the college graduate but not making what some other college graduates might be making, or college graduate plus master's degree plus whatever, and still feeling like people think we make more money than what we deserve, or whatever. So as a profession, I'm thinking that maybe that's the case because it is highly dominated by women. But personally, I can't really think of a time where I felt like that happened to me on the job.
Yes, twice. The first time in 6th through 8th grade English by our very sexist English teacher. And then again by Miss Handrick, mostly because I made lots of sexist jokes in class.
I think that happens on a daily basis for not only women, but men. I've been discriminated at my job, the country club. Outside there are the male golf workers, and inside there are the female workers in their tuxedos. And they don't specifically say in the handbook that women can't work outside and men can't work inside. In fact, we've had several male waiters, but women have never been told to work outside because we have a lot of more old school rich guys or rich older men that would never want a woman to be carrying their golf clubs for them. So no women caddies at the country club. I also think that there's just gender stereotypes for girls, and there's a catch-22 kind of a double set expectation that girls need to act like a lady, but like if girls get with guys, then they're called a slut. But if you're a guy and you get with a girl, it's just kind of like job well done kind of thing. I think that's what kind of bothers me.
The way the pay scale has been set up, gender is irrelevant. It's done it's done by years of service, it's done by degrees, credits that you take, so gender is irrelevant.
I have a tendency to say no to that. I don't personally have experience feeling like I got the job or I didn't get the job or I was asked to do that because I'm a female, or the other way around. So I don't feel personally that I've had instances where I've been discriminated against. But I work in a profession that's a high percentage of women. So you almost have to be put in that situation where you're competing with a man for a job, and I don't think I've ever had a job interview where I knew the other person applying was a man, so I wouldn't even know if I was, but I can't think of any personal instances of that, even though I know and feel like that does happen. I think sometimes women who maybe even work the system and have things kind of go their way because they are female, especially if they're female with a male boss, might have, things sort of go their way because maybe the boss does like them because they are an attractive female. I mean, I totally think that happens at times.
No.
I guess I don't have any proof of that, but I'm maybe get more tips or something at my job if I'm nicer. And I also find that at my job, the chefs yell at the guy waiters more than the girls, and I think that girls are supposed to be treated more tenderly because they're just a little more sensitive, and I don't think you can deny that. I think that women are more intuitive and more tuned into their emotions than men, and I think that's just part of the stereotypes that go along with the Western culture. And I would like to know more about, personally, what different cultures are like as far as the roles that women and men play, because I know that it differs from America, and I think that it'd be beneficial to people if they knew more about the roles that women played in other countries, because there are still, baby boomers and people that assume that we are incapable of doing things that we have been currently showing that we are capable of actually doing.
I think that growing up through the 1950s, 60s, 70s, so I'm almost 60 years old, to suggest that this has been gender equal culture over 60 years is pretty much missing the boat. I think that I've benefited a lot because of my gender.
No, I don't really. This is really hard at being a female in education because we work in an environment that's so highly women, as such a high percentage of women that it's hard to compare.
Yes, actually, my job is only available to males. So.
What's your job?
I'm a bag boy at a country club, and they don't let girls carry the bags because old men would have a fit about it.
Well, I guess in high school sports, you have the boys and the girls are separated, and boys don't really play on the girls' volleyball team, and girls don't play on the football team typically. So I guess those are the limitations on that. As far as opportunities that may or may not be given to me based on my gender, I feel like that as far as academically, I've always been involved in clubs that have been for both boys and girls. So I think that that's just strictly been limited to my actual abilities as a human being and my, like, in choir or in the musical. Like, certainly I wasn't going to play a greaser in Grease, but that's just to be expected, so not significantly.
I think that gender stereotyping continues to go on. However, I, would suggest that it's very possible, when you consider, for instance, law schools, there's a pretty close balance of men to women. Mm-hmm. So there's an equality there. When I was growing up, there was I don't remember a medical doctor as a woman ever. But now there are plenty of women doctors. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely been inroads made. Things are better for women generally. Although my understanding is in the state of Wisconsin, some recent laws have been signed by the governor that are hardly going to be well received by women. And they are gender-based laws. Mm-hmm. So I think we kind of move sometimes one step forward, one step back, but we're consistently moving along, progressing, getting a little bit more civilized, I would think.
No. Is this asking me, like, am I an example of the blonde stereotype, that blondes are supposed to be kind of dippy and flighty? I think a stereotype is just that, a stereotype. Everybody doesn't fit any particular little slot, according to what people say. I think there are intelligent people who are blonde, brunette, redhead, or whatever, so I mean that would be one stereotype that, no, I don't agree with them. I think that's why they're a stereotype. All people don't fit into those.
No, not really, but mostly because I have really funny gender stereotypes. And I think that's a bad thing because it would be really funny if they did.
Typically, I personally think that there's not a lot of higher order thinking that goes on in our high school, and it's much easier to base your own thoughts on what you directly see. And if it's a pretty girl or a fat girl or a thin girl or a girl with red hair or a blonde girl, it's just typically easier to just assume something than to go up and directly talk to that person. And a big part of being a human is whether or not you are a boy or a girl. And I know I've been guilty of it too, because in my school, I don't know how accurate I am or not, but you see like the rednecks or all the camouflage, and you're just like, you don't want any part of that because you're just like, no, I don't like shooting stuff. Or as far as guys go, I feel like I'm a little hard to stereotype because I'm involved in so many different things, and my style changes from day to day, and I'm just an open and nice, caring person, but I'm sure there's girls that keep to themselves more, and they've been talked about just based on the way they look. It happens every day. It's just what high schoolers do.